Ethan wiped the sweat from his forehead as he crouched over the energy converter. The scorching orange sun of Zithra 9 beat down on the metal hull of the remote repair station. The wind whipped fine dust across the rocky plateau, and even though the station was supposed to shield him from most of it, tiny particles found their way into every crevice. He squinted at the intricate circuitry in front of him, trying to remember the sequence the AI assistant had just suggested.
Step 7.
Reverse the polarity. No, wait, amplify first, he muttered to himself. He had always loved machines. There was something comforting about the hum of an engine, or the steady pulse of energy flowing through a circuit. But working on Zithra 9 was different, more dangerous, more unpredictable. He leaned back and took a deep breath, stretching sore muscles. His gaze wandered to the horizon, where jagged cliffs split the sky, their sharp edges glowing under the alien sun. For a moment he allowed himself a pause, a brief escape from the mental strain. That's when he heard the faintest giggle. "Hello?" he called cautiously, his voice echoing slightly against the metal walls of the station. There was no reply. Just the wind. Ethan shrugged. Maybe he imagined it. Zithra 9 had a way of playing tricks on the mind. Then he heard it again, a higher-pitched laugh, light and mischievous. Ethan froze. Whoever or whatever it was, they were close. He turned slowly, scanning the shadows. At first he saw nothing but the familiar machinery, the solar panels, the docking bay. And then she appeared, Lyra. At least that was what he would later call her in his mind, because she never said her name at first. She was small, barely reaching his shoulder, with skin that shimmered faintly under the sunlight, shifting colors like liquid metal. Her eyes were enormous, almost like polished orbs, reflecting the light and making it impossible to look away. She wore a simple tunic, metallic threads woven into a pattern that seemed alien even to his trained eyes. Who are you?" Ethan asked, keeping his voice calm. He didn't want to scare her. Lyra tilted her head, studying him, her movements precise but playful. A mischievous grin spread across her face, showing teeth that glinted faintly like pearls. She made a sound, half laugh, half word, and then, without warning, she sprinted forward. Ethan instinctively moved to the side, but she was too fast. Before he could react, she leaped onto his lap, giggling loudly. "Hey, wait." Ethan sputtered, trying not to topple over. The sudden weight and surprise made him stumble backward, and he ended up sitting on the floor. Lyra landed lightly on him, still laughing, her small hands resting on his chest. Ethan blinked. He had expected a confrontation, maybe a hostile alien attack, but not this. Hello?" he said again, trying to regain his balance. Lyra's laughter stopped abruptly. Her big eyes widened and she froze. Ethan noticed her gaze dart around, almost as if she was expecting someone to appear. "Are you okay?" he asked. He had no idea what he had done to startle her, but it was clear she was now worried. She shook her head slowly. No, this is not... I didn't mean..." Her words were broken, halting, almost musical. Ethan could not understand the exact meaning, but the urgency in her tone was unmistakable. "What is it?" he asked gently, trying to put her at ease. Then it hit him. The AI assistant emitted a sudden alert. Cultural breach detected. Human-alien bonding protocol triggered. Ethan froze. The screen blinked red. Subject has initiated an unintentional bonding ritual. Immediate cultural mediation required. "Bonding ritual?" Ethan whispered. He looked at Lyra. Her expression was a mixture of panic and horror. She was shaking her head furiously, muttering sounds that made his ears ache. Whatever she had done, it was serious. You didn't do this on purpose?" he asked slowly. Lyra flailed her arms and shook her head. "No, Joke, not bond." Her words were rushed, desperate, but the tone was unmistakable. Ethan realized she had not understood human personal space. Or maybe she had, but it didn't matter. Whatever customs existed on her planet, she had accidentally broken one. The rest of the morning passed in a blur. Alien officials arrived, materializing seemingly out of nowhere. Ethan tried to explain, gesturing, speaking slowly in his calmest tone, but it was clear the words didn't matter. Lyra's society had strict rules Ethan couldn't possibly understand yet. And now he was tangled in them. The lead elder, tall and imposing, studied him with cold, sharp eyes. Ethan swallowed hard. He didn't know how to stand, how to behave, or what to say. He only knew one thing: he must stay calm. Lyra stepped forward, wringing her hands. No, not Bond. He not understand, she pleaded. Her voice trembled, and for a moment Ethan saw a flicker of fear he hadn't expected. The elder said something in rapid alien tones, and Lyra flinched. Ethan couldn't understand the words, but the meaning was clear. She had triggered a very old law, one that made humans part of their society in ways he could not yet imagine. Ethan looked at her. I didn't mean to, okay? I'm just fixing the converter. That's it. His words were honest, calm, and simple. He hoped it would make sense. It did, in a way. The elder's gaze softened slightly, though still stern. Then the AI, sensing tension, projected a holographic translation. Human shows honesty and respect. Cultural integration may proceed with supervision. Ethan blinked. Integration? He didn't like the sound of that. Lyra's eyes widened. She muttered another string of words, her voice low. Ethan could only catch the final word: honor. Somehow, whatever joke she had played had now given him a title of responsibility and trust in her society. The next hours were filled with protocols Ethan didn't understand. He had to learn gestures, phrases, and rituals. Lyra tried to help, but each attempt made things worse. Every time she thought she was helping, she accidentally reinforced the bond, confirming it further in the eyes of her people. Ethan's human instincts kept him calm. He studied the rituals carefully, noting patterns and observing logic where he could. Slowly, he began to see a method in the madness. His mind, trained in problem-solving and engineering, started mapping out cultural algorithms. Step by step, he adjusted, learning to navigate alien expectations without disrespecting them. Meanwhile, Lyra remained nearby, hovering with a mixture of shame and curiosity. Her playful personality was still present, but there was also a new awareness. This human was different. He didn't panic, he didn't fight, and he certainly didn't act entitled. Instead, he adapted. He respected her rules even when he didn't understand them. By the end of the day, Ethan had learned several things. Lyra's society had rigid codes, some hundreds of years old. Humans were unpredictable to them, but also remarkable. Somehow he had been woven into her culture, not as a conqueror, but as a participant of honor. As night fell over Zithera 9, painting the sky in shades of violet and deep orange, Ethan and Lyra sat side by side, exhausted from the day's events. The station hummed softly, lights blinking, a quiet reminder that life went on even in chaos. Lyra whispered something he didn't understand, then smiled faintly. Ethan realized she was apologizing for the joke that had started everything. He reached out and lightly touched her hand, a human gesture of reassurance. Lyra froze for a moment, then relaxed. In that moment, Ethan knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was full of strange customs, dangerous politics, and unseen threats, and somehow a simple joke had thrown him into the heart of it all. Tomorrow, he thought, would be more complicated, but for now he allowed himself a small, quiet laugh. After all, how many humans could say they were bonded to an alien society because of a playful prank? Somewhere deep in Lyra's mind, she made a silent promise. She would fix this, guide him through her culture, and maybe, just maybe, make sure he survived the chaos she had inadvertently set in motion. And Ethan? He stared at the alien sky, feeling a strange mix of excitement and trepidation. He didn't yet understand the full consequences of the joke, but he did understand one thing. The universe had just become far more interesting than he had ever imagined. The next morning, the twin suns of Zithera 9 rose slowly over the jagged horizon, spilling a warm golden glow across the dusty plains. Ethan sat at the edge of the repair station's platform, rubbing his temples. Last night's events had left him restless. He tried to piece together everything he had learned. Lyra's joke, the unexpected bonding ritual, and the subtle but unmistakable attention it had drawn from her people. He had barely slept, and even now, the lingering adrenaline made it hard to relax. Yet he knew he had to face the day. The station's systems needed checks, and the energy converter's repair could not be postponed. But as he approached the workbench, he realized he was not alone. Lyra hovered nearby, her small form almost glowing in the morning light. She had donned her ceremonial tunic, a subtle acknowledgement that the events of yesterday were not to be repeated, but her large eyes betrayed nervousness, darting toward the horizon every few seconds. "Morning," Ethan said softly, trying to ease the tension. She flinched slightly at the sound of his voice but offered a faint nod. "Morning." Human. Her voice was still broken, halting, but she spoke more words than before. "Ethan, not..." "Joke again." Ethan smiled faintly. "I promise. No more jokes. Let's just get the converter running." Before they could start, a hum filled the air. Ethan looked up and saw a formation of alien ships descending from the sky. They were sleek, angular vessels with metallic surfaces that reflected the sun's rays. The landing pads near the station extended automatically, and the ships touched down with precise grace. "Visitors," Lyra whispered, her voice tight with apprehension. "Elders," Ethan's stomach tightened. Elders meant authority, tradition, and in his case, judgment. Whatever he had done yesterday had not gone unnoticed. The lead elder emerged first, towering above Lyra despite her small size. His skin shimmered like polished bronze, and his eyes, cold and piercing, seemed to measure Ethan in a single glance. Behind him, 4 other elders followed, each carrying a staff embedded with glowing crystals. The air around them vibrated slightly, a subtle display of energy that Ethan could feel in his chest. "Ethan," the lead elder said, his voice resonant yet filtered through the station's translation system. "You have initiated a bond through actions unintended. This day requires explanation." Ethan swallowed hard. I didn't mean to. It was a misunderstanding. She sat on me, I didn't understand what it meant, and..." He paused, realizing he had no idea how to explain alien social customs. "I didn't know I was supposed to do anything." The elder's gaze did not waver. "Ignorance does not erase consequence. You are now tied to our customs, whether you consent or not. The bond is recognized. Yet the manner in which you conduct yourself during this observation will determine your acceptance." Ethan nodded slowly, trying to stay calm. "I understand. I will follow your customs. Please guide me." Lyra shifted nervously beside him. She had expected this to be difficult, but seeing Ethan handle it with calm honesty gave her hope. Perhaps he could survive this challenge after all. The elders motioned for Ethan to follow them to a large chamber inside the station. It was circular, with walls etched with glowing symbols that pulsed rhythmically like a heartbeat. The floor was smooth, reflective, and the air was warm, almost comforting despite the tension. Lyra led the way, keeping close to Ethan as he entered. Once inside, the elders began the assessment of understanding, a ritual that evaluated a foreign being's ability to comprehend and respect alien culture. Ethan had no idea what to expect. "Step forward," the lead elder commanded. Ethan obeyed, keeping his posture straight. A holographic display appeared in front of him, showing a series of challenges, moral dilemmas, technical problems, and social scenarios that required immediate decisions. Each challenge was timed, and failing to respond correctly could escalate the situation. Lyra whispered, Do your best, human. You must show respect, be clever. Be careful," Ethan nodded. He focused. His first challenge appeared, a holographic image of a group of alien workers trapped in a collapsing energy conduit. He had to find a way to rescue them using available tools without violating safety protocols. He analyzed quickly. Using a combination of redirected energy beams, temporary support structures, and careful timing, he solved the scenario perfectly. The holographic aliens were safe, and the elder's eyes narrowed in interest. Next, he was confronted with a moral dilemma. A simulation presented 2 colonies, one at risk of starvation, the other facing structural collapse. Resources could only save one. Which choice would demonstrate honor and fairness? Ethan considered carefully. He chose the colony in immediate danger of starvation, reasoning that life's preservation outweighed structural integrity. The holographic simulation responded with positive feedback, and a subtle glow emanated from the elder's staffs. Lyra's small hands clenched nervously. Yes, he understands more than we thought, but the final challenge was more complex. A puzzle required coordination with Lyra to redirect energy from one source to multiple areas, mimicking their society's intricate systems. The challenge was designed to test teamwork, trust, and communication. Ethan and Lyra exchanged a glance. "We can do this," he whispered. She nodded, adjusting her hand position. Together they worked, carefully moving energy flows, balancing outputs, and preventing overloads. Sweat formed on Ethan's brow as the holographic systems fluctuated dangerously, but he remained calm, thinking like an engineer while respecting alien tradition. Finally, the challenge ended. The holographic lights dimmed and the elder stepped forward. Your actions demonstrate comprehension, adaptability, and respect. You may proceed in our society under supervision. Yet you are now bound. Any deviation may result in further evaluation. Ethan exhaled. Relief washed over him. He had survived the assessment, at least for now. Lyra looked at him with wide eyes, a mixture of relief and admiration. You did. Incredible, she said softly. He smiled faintly. We did it. You helped. Her gaze softened. She was still nervous, but a newfound trust had formed between them. Ethan realized that this bond, triggered by a simple joke, was evolving into something more meaningful. As the day progressed, Ethan began integrating into the colony. He learned their work routines, helped repair outdated machinery, and shared insights that improved efficiency. Despite the strict customs, the aliens began to notice his contributions. Some younger members whispered among themselves, impressed by the humans' creativity and calmness. However, the peace was not to last. Rumors of the accidental bond reached rival factions across Zithera 9. They questioned a human's right to hold honor in their society, seeing him as an outsider who threatened tradition. Ethan sensed tension growing, even without understanding all the politics. He noticed clusters of aliens exchanging glances when he passed, some polite, some wary. Lyra tried to explain, her broken English mingled with gestures. They do not, like, human bond. Think you take place of honor. Ethan nodded slowly. I understand. I'll do my best to earn respect. Lyra's expression softened. Already. You show more than many of us. Clever, calm, brave. The evening brought another surprise. The lead elder returned, not with judgment this time, but with an offer. They wanted Ethan to participate in a ceremonial demonstration, a test of his continued respect and understanding, held the next day in the colony's central square. Ethan glanced at Lyra, who looked both nervous and excited. What happens if I fail? He asked quietly. The elder's gaze was steady. Failure is not death, but it may reduce trust. Others may challenge your position, question your bond. Ethan thought about the day's lessons. He had survived the initial assessment through calm reasoning, honesty, and adaptability. He had no reason to doubt that his approach would continue to work. That night, as the twin moons of Zithera 9 rose, Ethan lay on the platform of the repair station, gazing at the alien sky. Lyra sat nearby, her small hands resting on the edge of the platform. Neither spoke for a long time, letting the quiet of the night settle around them. Sorry, Lyra finally said. Joke, bad. Not no, would happen. Ethan chuckled softly. Don't worry. It started a lot of problems, sure, but it also brought me here. And maybe, that's not entirely bad. Her large eyes met his, shimmering in the moonlight. For the first time, she seemed to see him as more than just a human who had stumbled into her world. He was someone who could think, adapt, and survive, and perhaps someone who could help her challenge the rigid traditions of her people. Somewhere deep inside, both of them knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of unexpected dangers and opportunities. A simple joke had thrown them together, but it had also set them on a path that neither could foresee. And for Ethan, lying there under the alien sky, he felt a strange thrill. Tomorrow, the ceremonial demonstration would test him again. But he had learned something essential. Humans were underestimated in every corner of the galaxy, yet their ingenuity, courage, and calm mind could turn even the most impossible situations in their favor. For Lyra, the night was a time of reflection. She realized that her impulsive act, meant as a playful joke, had consequences far beyond her imagination. But in Ethan she saw something rare, a human who did not falter, who respected her world while quietly changing it. Perhaps this bond, accidental as it was, could be the beginning of something. The next morning, the central square of the colony was alive with activity. Alien citizens of all shapes and sizes moved about with purpose, their metallic skins glinting under Zithera 9's twin suns. Ethan walked beside Lyra, trying to keep his posture calm, though his mind raced. Today was the ceremonial demonstration, the next step in proving his worth to the colony and solidifying the bond he had accidentally triggered. Lyra's small hand brushed against his arm. They will test your courage, cleverness, honor, she whispered, her voice tight with worry. Many humans fail, if not careful, Ethan nodded. I understand, but I'll do my best. I always do. As they entered the square, Ethan noticed the preparation. Platforms had been erected, and holographic displays flickered across the open space. Elders stood in a semicircle at the far end, their expressions unreadable. Some younger aliens whispered among themselves, glancing at Ethan with curiosity. Clearly, news of a human participating in their rituals had spread quickly. The lead elder raised his staff and the crowd fell silent. Ethan of Earth, he said, his voice amplified through the translation system. You are now required to prove your worth in the trial of honor and courage. Your actions will determine how your bond with Lyra and our society continues. Fail, and you may remain under supervision. Succeed, and you will be recognized as a valued participant in our colony. Ethan felt his stomach tighten. The stakes were higher than yesterday, but he squared his shoulders and stepped forward. The first part of the trial involved navigating a toxic swamp. Holographic simulations had been one thing, but this was real. The swamp stretched out before him, a stretch of dark liquid that hissed and bubbled. Steam rose in twisting columns carrying noxious fumes. Lyra pointed to a series of stepping stones partially submerged. Careful if fall. Toxic, she warned. Ethan nodded. He focused, placing one foot carefully on a stone, then another, testing their stability. The stones shifted slightly under his weight, but he adjusted. Halfway through, a geyser of steam erupted near him, forcing him to leap sideways, landing precariously on a smaller stone. His heart raced, but he stayed calm. Lyra's small form followed, her steps precise. Together they crossed the swamp, reaching solid ground. The elders murmured among themselves. Ethan had demonstrated balance, courage, and quick thinking, exactly what the trial required. Next came a puzzle of energy conduits, designed to test intelligence and teamwork. Several energy nodes flickered erratically, threatening to overload. Ethan realized that the pattern resembled the flawed designs he had seen in the station's old systems. Drawing on his engineering knowledge, he started rerouting energy using temporary connections, while Lyra adjusted the alien conduits according to the Elder's subtle instructions. It was difficult, balancing alien technology with his human understanding. One wrong move could cause the conduits to spark violently or collapse. Sweat dripped down Ethan's forehead as he worked, moving quickly but deliberately. Lyra's small hands moved with confidence, trusting Ethan's judgment. Finally, the conduit stabilized, the nodes glowing steadily. The Elder's staffs pulsed in approval. Ethan exhaled. One part of the trial complete, but the final stage was the most dangerous, a test of courage against aggressive alien wildlife. The Elders opened a containment field revealing creatures native to Zithera 9. They were large, with metallic scales and sharp claws, eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Ethan had never seen anything like them in his life. Lyra tugged his sleeve. Be brave, they sense fear. You must not show weakness, Ethan nodded. He knew that animals reacted to body language, energy, and intent. Calmness could be his weapon. As the creatures advanced, he kept his breathing steady, moving deliberately but confidently. He noticed a pattern in their movement, a slight pause after each strike. Using that rhythm, he dodged, diverted, and led them toward barriers that prevented harm while keeping them contained. The crowd watched in awe. Not a single scratch touched Ethan or Lyra. By the time the last creature was guided safely back into containment, the square erupted in murmurs of respect. Even some of the younger aliens who had doubted him nodded appreciatively. The lead elder stepped forward. You have demonstrated courage, cleverness, and honor. The bond is affirmed. You are now recognized as one who may participate in our society with dignity. Ethan let out a long breath. For the first time, he felt truly accepted, not just by Lyra, but by an entire culture that had seemed incomprehensible a few days ago. Lyra's eyes sparkled. You, human. Incredible, not just joke, true. Hero. Ethan chuckled softly. I just stayed calm. Worked with you. That's all. The day continued with informal interactions. Ethan helped repair equipment while explaining his methods. Younger aliens crowded around him, curious, asking questions. Lyra introduced him to colleagues, her pride evident despite her usual shyness, but the peace was fragile. Whispers of dissent grew louder in the colony. Some factions refused to accept a human in a position of honor, arguing that a foreign species could never truly grasp their traditions. Late that evening, Ethan and Lyra walked along a ridge overlooking the colony. The twin moons reflected off distant mountains, casting long shadows across the terrain. "They do not all trust you," Lyra said softly. "Some plan, challenge. Humans not like them, think. Weak, misunderstand," Ethan nodded. "I expected that. But respect is earned, not given. I'll show them what humans can do, without breaking their rules." Her small hand brushed against his again. "You clever, brave, not just strong, maybe. Change their minds." A distant rumble echoed across the ridge. Ethan tensed. What was that? Lyra's eyes widened. "They send test. Rival faction. Tomorrow, trial. Real challenge." Ethan felt a mixture of excitement and anxiety. Every instinct told him that he would face danger, perhaps for the first time outside controlled conditions. Yet he also knew that this was an opportunity to prove that humans could adapt, think strategically, and act with courage in ways that even advanced alien societies might not anticipate. That night, he reviewed the day's events and prepared for the challenge ahead. He had learned the rhythm of the alien society, the logic behind their rituals, and the limits of their expectations. He understood that Lyra's trust was both a gift and a responsibility. Morning arrived with tense anticipation. The rival faction, a group known for their strict adherence to tradition and suspicion of outsiders, appeared in the square. Their leader, a tall alien with bronze-hued skin and piercing eyes, stepped forward. "You claim honor," he said, his voice sharp and commanding. "Yet you are human. You have no place in our customs. Today we will see if your actions match your words." Ethan squared his shoulders. "I don't want to take anyone's place. I only want to show respect, and I'll prove it," the rival leader smirked. "We shall see. The challenge is not just skill but wit, survival, and the measure of your courage will determine your fate." The trial began with a complex obstacle course, combining physical agility, mental puzzles, and teamwork with Lyra. Ethan quickly realized that his human approach, analyzing patterns, improvising with limited tools, staying calm under pressure, gave him an edge. Lyra mirrored his actions, adapting to his thought process even though she was used to a rigid way of thinking. Together, they navigated shifting platforms, balanced across high beams, and solved energy routing puzzles faster than the alien standards expected. The rival faction's whispers grew anxious. Even they could see that the humans' methods, though unconventional, worked. But the final stage was the ultimate test, a simulation of a colony under attack, designed to measure strategy, decision-making, and courage under life-or-death conditions. Holographic enemies swarmed, energy barriers flickered, and alarms blared. Ethan took charge, giving calm instructions while Lyra executed precise movements. They coordinated defenses, evacuated civilians, and neutralized threats using a combination of human improvisation and alien technology. By the end, the simulation ended successfully. The elders' staffs glowed warmly, signaling approval. Even the rival faction leader bowed his head in grudging respect. The lead elder addressed the assembly. "Today the human has proven his courage, intelligence, and honor. The bond is affirmed. Let it be known that humans, though foreign, may bring ingenuity and valor beyond what was imagined." Ethan exhaled, a mixture of relief and pride washing over him. Lyra beamed, her small form radiating admiration. "You, human, you. Incredible," she said softly. As the sun set over Zithera 9, Ethan understood something profound. Humans might be underestimated, small in number, and considered weak in many parts of the galaxy. But courage, cleverness, and honor, qualities that came naturally to him, could turn even the most impossible situations in their favor. And for Lyra, the day had changed her perception as well. Her playful joke had unleashed a chain of events that no one could have predicted. Yet in Ethan she had discovered not only a human capable of navigating alien customs, but someone who could inspire change, challenge assumptions, and earn respect in ways her society had never seen before. Together, they looked out across the colony, aware that new challenges would come, that rival factions would continue to test them, and that the galaxy was full of surprises. But for the first time, both felt a quiet certainty. They could face anything together. The morning sky over Zithra 9 glimmered in shades of orange and violet, signaling the start of another tense day. Ethan woke on the platform of the repair station, muscles sore from yesterday's trials. He had survived the ceremonial demonstration and proven his courage, cleverness, and honor. But he knew that respect earned through assessment could be challenged at any moment. Lyra hovered nearby, her shimmering skin reflecting the light. "Today, dangerous," she said softly. Her voice carried worry, but there was also determination. Rival and faction. Angry, they will try attack. Ethan nodded. Then we need to prepare. Not just survive, but protect everyone. The colony had sensed the same tension. Alien citizens hurried about reinforcing barriers, inspecting energy grids, and organizing defenses. Elders moved silently, watching both Ethan and the rival faction with sharp eyes. He realized that his role had changed. He was no longer an outsider or a visitor. He was part of the colony's strategy, their hope against the challenges ahead. As the sun climbed higher, distant shadows appeared on the horizon. The rival faction's ships descended in a formation that was both calculated and threatening. Ethan could see their weapons glinting in the sunlight, and the ground vibrated slightly as they landed near the colony's perimeter. Lyra's eyes widened. They not just test, they attack, she whispered. Ethan took a deep breath. Then we defend. Calm, careful, clever. The elders quickly convened with Ethan, explaining the situation. The rival faction wanted to seize control of the colony's central energy hub, claiming that a human holding honor was an insult to their traditions. They had prepared traps, ambushes, and surveillance systems. It would take strategy, intelligence, and courage to counter them. Ethan's mind raced. He studied the map of the colony, noting weak points and potential choke points. His human experience in tactical planning, engineering, and improvisation gave him ideas the aliens might not have considered. Listen carefully, he said to Lyra and the elders. We can use their expectations against them. They think we'll defend openly with force, but we will be clever. We'll create diversions, redirect energy, and use their own technology to contain them. Trust me, follow my lead. Lyra hesitated but nodded. I trust you. The first phase began. Rival scouts moved toward the energy hub, careful not to trigger alarms. Ethan had anticipated this and had set up subtle energy reroutes that would trigger minor alerts, drawing them into designated zones. As the scouts advanced, they found themselves momentarily trapped in fields of harmless but immobilizing energy, giving the colony time to react. The elders watched, astonished. Human thinking. Different, one murmured. Predictable, but clever. Ethan moved quickly, coordinating with Lyra to reinforce barriers and secure civilians. He noticed that the rival faction had underestimated human adaptability. While they expected direct confrontation, Ethan used misdirection, improvised traps, and rapid energy adjustments to control the battlefield. As the main assault approached, Ethan and Lyra positioned themselves near the central hub. The rival faction's ships hovered above, deploying ground forces in synchronized movements. Ethan analyzed their formation. They rely on patterns, he muttered. We can use that. Using a combination of human engineering and alien technology, he rigged the energy conduits to create temporary force fields in unexpected locations. Rival troops moved into these fields and found themselves contained or redirected. It was a dangerous plan requiring precise timing, but Ethan stayed calm. His focus, combined with Lyra's intimate knowledge of the colony's systems, allowed them to execute flawlessly. The elders observed in awe as humans and aliens worked in unison. Ethan's calm reasoning, rapid adjustments, and creative thinking turned what could have been chaos into controlled defense. For the first time, some of the rival faction members hesitated. They had not expected this level of adaptability from a human. As the battle intensified, Ethan noticed a smaller group attempting to flank the hub from an unexpected angle. Lyra, we need to redirect them, he said. Together they activated a series of holographic decoys, projecting multiple false images of themselves and key equipment. The rival flankers paused, confused by the illusions, giving the colony's defenders the chance to intercept them safely. The tide of the confrontation began to shift. Rival forces, frustrated and disoriented by the unconventional tactics, were forced to retreat. Their energy projections became less coordinated, and some ships were briefly trapped in controlled energy loops created by Ethan's quick thinking. During the lull, Lyra looked at him with wide eyes. "You, human, change battle, not like any of us." Ethan smiled faintly, though he did not relax. "Just stay alert. It's not over." The rival faction regrouped and launched a final offensive aiming directly at the central hub. Ethan anticipated this. He quickly reconfigured the energy grid, creating temporary energy barriers that could absorb and redirect attacks. The rival faction's strikes bounced harmlessly, their formation breaking under the unexpected defense. Ethan moved along the hub's perimeter, guiding defenders, adjusting energy flows, and ensuring that no one was exposed. His mind worked like a machine, constantly calculating, predicting, and reacting. Lyra assisted him, her hands moving confidently over control panels, activating emergency protocols he could not have handled alone. At the climax, a massive energy pulse threatened the station. Ethan and Lyra worked together, rerouting energy from non-essential systems to reinforce the hub. Sparks flew, alarms blared, but the system held. The rival faction's remaining forces realized they could not overcome the defenses and began retreating. The elders stepped forward once the battle ended. Their staffs glowed warmly, signaling approval. "You have demonstrated not only courage and intelligence, but the ability to protect and inspire," the lead elder said. "The human has proven that valor and cleverness are not bound by species. You are honored among us." Ethan exhaled deeply. Relief and pride surged through him. He looked at Lyra, who was beaming with admiration. "You saved colony, not just survive," she said softly. He shook his head, smiling. "We did it together. I couldn't have done this alone." The aftermath brought calm. Citizens repaired minor damage, secured resources, and celebrated quietly. Some younger aliens approached Ethan, asking questions, eager to learn from his human methods. He answered patiently, explaining his approach in simple terms. Lyra translated when necessary, bridging the cultural gap. That evening, as the suns dipped below the horizon, Ethan and Lyra sat together on the ridge overlooking the colony. The sky turned deep violet, stars beginning to twinkle across the expanse. "They respect you now," Lyra said. Her voice was soft but confident. "Not all, but many. They see humans capable." Ethan nodded, watching the distant lights of the colony. "Respect is earned, not given, and today we earned it together." She looked at him, her large eyes reflecting the starlight. "You, more than human. Clever, brave, heartstrong." Ethan chuckled softly. "I'm just me. But thanks." For a moment they sat in silence, listening to the quiet hum of the station, the distant energy pulses, and the gentle rustle of alien winds. Despite the danger, the uncertainty, and the challenges ahead, both felt a deep sense of connection, to each other, to the colony, and to the universe around them. Somewhere in the distance, Ethan could feel that new challenges were already forming. Rival factions, unknown threats, and the vast mysteries of Zithra 9 awaited. But he also knew this: with clever thinking, courage, and cooperation, humans could face any obstacle, even in a galaxy that had never truly expected them to succeed. For Lyra, the day had revealed something profound. The playful joke that had started it all had transformed into a partnership capable of defying expectations, reshaping opinions, and perhaps even changing the future of her people. She realized that human ingenuity and courage were forces unlike any she had encountered. As night fell over the colony, Ethan and Lyra remained on the ridge, gazing at the stars. They both understood that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new tests, and new adventures. But for now, they allowed themselves a moment of quiet triumph. Together, they had faced a storm, and together they had emerged stronger, wiser, and ready for whatever the galaxy would throw at them next. The morning sun rose slowly over Zithra 9, painting the rugged terrain in golden hues. Ethan awoke with a sense of anticipation, knowing today would mark the culmination of all his efforts. The rival faction had been temporarily repelled, the colony was safe, and the ceremonial trials had established his honor. Yet a deeper test awaited, one that would measure not only courage and intelligence but trust, adaptability, and unity with Lyra. Lyra was already awake, floating near the platform where Ethan rested. Her eyes sparkled with determination, and she moved with a quiet energy that mirrored the day's importance. Today, final test, she said softly. Elders, prepared. For me, bond. Confirmation. You ready? Ethan nodded, stretching slightly. As ready as I'll ever be. We've faced challenges before. This one will be different, but we'll handle it together. The colony's central square was already filled with aliens of all ages. Citizens lined the platforms, their expressions a mix of curiosity, respect, and excitement. The rival faction had not returned, but the elders had sent word that today's trial would be decisive. Ethan would face a series of integrated challenges that tested mind, body, and spirit. His performance would determine how fully he was accepted into the colony. The lead elder stepped forward, staff glowing faintly. Ethan of Earth, he began, his voice resonant. You have demonstrated intelligence, courage, and honor. Yet the bond with Lyra is not complete until you can act in harmony with her in trials designed to test coordination, trust, and judgment. The final assessment will now commence. Ethan exhaled, feeling both nervous and focused. He looked at Lyra, who nodded confidently. Together, they stepped into the first stage, a labyrinth of energy barriers and shifting platforms designed to challenge spatial reasoning and quick decision-making. The moment they entered, the walls began to shift, paths opening and closing unpredictably. Ethan's human instincts kicked in. He analyzed the patterns, noting subtle visual cues that indicated which barriers would move next. Lyra, small and agile, followed his lead, her movements precise. Left, Ethan whispered, pointing to a narrowing passage. Lyra adjusted her trajectory immediately. They moved in near-perfect synchronization, anticipating each other's actions without hesitation. The labyrinth tested them for nearly an hour, demanding constant focus, rapid problem-solving, and teamwork. By the time they emerged, both were breathing heavily but triumphant. The crowd murmured in approval. Next came a test of moral and strategic decision-making. A holographic simulation displayed multiple scenarios: a colony under siege, civilians, trapped in dangerous zones, and resource limitations that required choices with consequences. Ethan studied the simulation carefully. He had faced similar trials before, but this one integrated elements he had not encountered, ethical dilemmas intertwined with technical solutions. He turned to Lyra. We need to prioritize life first, then structural integrity. But we can be clever, use minimal resources to save the most. Lyra nodded. Yeah, careful, smart, together. They worked quickly, coordinating evacuations, reinforcing barriers, and reallocating energy. Every decision required rapid judgment, and every action affected multiple outcomes simultaneously. Despite the complexity, Ethan's human logic combined with Lyra's intimate knowledge of colony systems allowed them to succeed. The elders observed intently, their staffs pulsing in rhythm with the simulation. This combination, human ingenuity and native knowledge, powerful, one murmured to another. After the simulation ended successfully, the final stage began, a challenge against the elements and alien predators. Unlike previous trials, this one was unpredictable, testing physical endurance, reflexes, and courage. Ethan and Lyra were led to an open canyon filled with treacherous terrain, shifting winds, and holographic projections of native predators. The predators lunged with precision, and the winds threatened to push them off narrow ledges. Ethan stayed calm, moving deliberately, calculating the best angles and timing for every step. Lyra followed, trusting his judgment, adjusting her movements to mirror his while using her natural agility to avoid danger. At one point, a strong gust pushed Ethan off balance. Lyra caught his arm instinctively, stabilizing him. Their coordination saved both from potential harm. The elders' eyes glimmered with approval. They had never witnessed such synergy between human and alien. The final predator approached, a simulation of a massive armored creature, its speed and size overwhelming. Ethan analyzed the patterns quickly, realizing brute force would not work. He devised a clever diversion, drawing the creature into a canyon bend where energy traps could immobilize it temporarily. Lyra executed the plan flawlessly, activating the traps and guiding the creature safely away. With that, the trial ended. Silence fell over the square. The elders exchanged glances, their expressions softening. The lead elder stepped forward, staff raised. "Ethan of Earth, you have demonstrated courage, intelligence, honor, and unparalleled coordination with Lyra. Your bond is now fully recognized. Let it be known across Zithera 9 that humans, though foreign, may achieve greatness, inspire change, and earn respect." Ethan exhaled deeply. Relief, pride, and a quiet joy washed over him. He looked at Lyra, who hovered nearby, her expression a mix of awe and admiration. You did it," she said softly, her voice trembling with emotion. "Not just survive, but shine." Ethan shook his head, smiling. "We did it together. I couldn't have done any of this alone." The crowd erupted into cheers, a mix of alien sounds and clapping appendages. Even members of the rival faction, who had returned to observe from a distance, nodded in recognition. The elders' staffs glowed warmly, a symbol of full acceptance and trust. After the ceremony, Ethan and Lyra walked along the colony's perimeter. The twin suns were setting, casting long shadows and bathing the colony in a warm light. Citizens waved and called greetings, their eyes reflecting newfound respect. "You, human, changed many minds," Lyra said softly. "Not just clever, brave, but heart-strong." Ethan chuckled lightly. "I just stayed calm, thought carefully, and worked with you. That's what humans do best: adapt, solve problems, and protect those we care about." Her gaze softened. "You care. For me. Care. For colony. All. Together. Rare. Human. Special." Ethan paused, considering her words. "I do. And I've learned a lot too. Not just about your people, but about what humans can achieve when we're underestimated. Courage, teamwork, and clever thinking. We're capable of more than anyone realizes." The colony's celebrations continued into the night. Lights glimmered, alien music echoed softly across the plains, and the air buzzed with energy. Citizens shared stories of Ethan's trials. Young aliens mimicked his tactics in playful games, and elders nodded knowingly. For the first time, humans were seen not as outsiders, but as equals, capable of inspiring hope and respect across species. As Ethan and Lyra sat on a ridge overlooking the celebrations, a quiet sense of accomplishment settled over them. A playful joke that had started it all, the moment that seemed so insignificant, had triggered a chain of events that changed both their lives and the perception of humanity across the colony. Lyra rested her small hand on Ethan's. "You, human, proud. You." Ethan smiled, feeling warmth in a way he hadn't experienced before. "I'm proud too, Lyra. Proud that we faced everything together. And this is just the beginning. The galaxy is vast, full of challenges and surprises, but as long as we stick together, I think we can handle anything." She nodded, her eyes reflecting the stars above. "Yes. Together. Nothing. Stop. Us." The twin moons rose over Zithera 9, casting silver light across the landscape. For Ethan, it was more than a night of triumph. It was a moment of realization. Humans might be underestimated in the galaxy, their numbers small, their technology sometimes simple, but their courage, adaptability, and cleverness were unmatched. In a world that valued strength and tradition, a single human could inspire change, bridge cultures, and leave a mark that no alien or challenge could ignore. And for Lyra, the bond with Ethan had proven something equally profound. Playful, jokes might trigger unintended consequences, but genuine trust, courage, and cooperation could create connections that transcended species, tradition, and expectation. Together they watched the colony below, aware that future challenges would come. New threats would rise, and the galaxy's mysteries would continue to unfold. But they also knew this. As long as humans and aliens could work together, respect one another, and face adversity with courage, anything was possible. The story of a human and an alien girl, started by a simple, unplanned joke, had evolved into a saga of courage, ingenuity, and trust. A reminder that even the smallest actions, when combined with bravery and intelligence, could ripple across worlds and reshape the course of destiny. And as the night deepened, Ethan and Lyra looked at each other, shared a quiet smile, and felt the bond that had started it all grow stronger. A bond that would guide them through the stars, side by side, into the unknown.